It's Christmas Eve once again, and you know what that means. We dig all those holiday specials out of the uh, closet and put them on the screen. Either wait for them to come on the uh, main broadcast, or we pull out the DVD of the Rankin Bass collection, plus a few others, and we enjoy some holiday nostalgia. But let's step back a moment. Now, the story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is pretty straightforward. It's basically about how outcasts really don't deserve the vitriol that the so-called normies heap on them. And basically, it's a story about acceptance, but just for kicks and giggles, let's really deconstruct the red-nosed reindeer. Let's start at the beginning. No, not the beginning of the film, but the beginning of Rudolph's story, when he's born. And his parents find out that his nose, rather than being small and black like every other deer nose, is slightly larger and naturally bioluminescent. He can even sort of control it. And they're horrified. Because apparently natural bioluminescence in a mammal, that's considered a birth defect. And in nature, most animals with birth defects usually get left for predators. So, being intelligent creatures, Santa's reindeer, of course, being able to talk and act like human beings, they decide to hide Rudolph's nose with a prosthetic. It gives him a bit of a speech impediment, makes him sound like he's got a cold, but it works. Although Santa did visit Rudolph's parents, his father, Donner. Anyway, and did notice Rudolph's nose. But let's file that little nugget away for now. So, for a while, Rudolph's nose maintained its secrecy. But then, when he began to socialize with the other reindeer, including a female named Clarice. No, not that Clarice. Stop making that weird noise, Dr. Lecter. A different Clarice. Anyway. Rudolph, because he really hit it off with Clarice, ended up doing a really good flying jump and impressing everyone. But then his fake nose fell off, and his first real friend, a blonde reindeer named Firebolt, or Fireball, he freaked out, as if Rudolph's nose is communist or something. Just because it's red doesn't mean it's communist. They don't own the color red. Anyway, poor Fireball, he freaked out, left. The other reindeer, they were mean. Let's just say, if a hunter came by and decided he wanted mutton, then I would have pointed him to those young, insulting deer. Anywho, even Santa would not back up Donner on the fact that Rudolph had only one difference to the other reindeer. And ultimately, Rudolph, he decided to just leave. Like many of us, self-isolation usually is a course of action, the only one that seems doable at the time. Unfortunately, that meant he was constantly on the run from the abominable snow monster, a creature brought to life with simple claymation and some sound effects that had me scared stiff when I was a kid. When I first saw it, I was freaking out. Mainly it was those teeth. I mean, he had claws, but he also had teeth. Anyway, back to Santa. It seems like Santa forgot about Rudolph's nose during the socialization. And either that or he just never brought it up. But anyway, there's also a side story. An elf named Hermie. Now, he doesn't look like every other elf. I mean, they're pretty uniform, but he's got more facial features and better looking hair than all the rest combined. But he doesn't want to be a toy maker. He wants to be a dentist. And I'm thinking he should really see Marathon Man and see how people view dentists. Hashtag, is it safe? But yeah, he's just wild about teeth. I don't know, maybe one of his ancestors was a tooth fairy or something. That could be it. But the head elf, who's more like a drill instructor, he comes down hard on poor Hermie. And even though Hermie tried to fit in by working on some of the dolls that happen to have teeth, it still didn't work. So ultimately, Hermie quits being an elf and just runs off. Then he runs into Rudolph, and they decide they'll be misfits together. And not long after that, they meet this crazy white guy called Yukon Cornelius. He's loud, boisterous. He's armed, but he never seems to think about using his revolver against the abominable snowman who keeps dogging all their footsteps throughout the film. And he's constantly looking for gold. And apparently he can taste gold in the ground, because every time he accidentally hits his ice pick into something, he tastes it with his tongue and ultimately can't find anything. Now, over the years, I'd say 1 year, because I think Reindeer mature more or less over one season. And while at first the trio stick together, ultimately it's Rudolph's nose that keeps drawing the abominable into their midst. Even when they briefly get away from him by turning part of an ice sheet into an ice raft and drift away, because apparently these creatures can't swim or even float, which is technically impossible. I mean, flesh provides buoyancy, and so does air in the lungs. So he should be able to float, but he sank like a stone. It was like a bog instead of regular water. But anyway, they briefly visit an island called the Island of Misfit Toys, where a flying lion holds court with a bunch of sentient toys that seem to be misfits, like a boat that can't float, although kids could use their imagination or maybe figure out what's wrong with the boat. Like maybe there's a leak or it's a psychological problem. Then there's a spotted elephant, and frankly, there's nothing wrong with a spotted elephant. I mean, you could give it to sick kids and maybe make them feel better. Then, of course, there's a Jack-in-the-Box who's actually named Charlie, although why he can't just call himself Charlie? I mean, Is he on a government list? He just called himself Charlie. Then there's a cowboy riding an ostrich, and kids have really good imaginations. They could make do with these toys. Like, the kid could say the guy's an Australian cowboy. Then there's the water pistol that shoots jelly, and I'm thinking, okay, have it be a kitchen tool instead of a toy, or maybe just clean out the jelly and with hot water and fill it with actual water. I mean, apparently the ruler of the island did not think through the possibility of how to make these toys desirable. Because I just came up with a whole bunch like that. Oh, and then of course there's a doll that there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with her, so why is she a misfit? I don't know, maybe her tears are sugary instead of salty when she cries. I have no idea. Oh, that could be the ultimate irony. She was supposed to have teeth but didn't. Or something along those lines. Anywho, the Flying Lion asks the trio to maybe put in a good word with them at Santa's place. So maybe those toys can get properly adopted. And so the trio decide to head back to the North Pole, all the while dodging the Abominable. Though ultimately Rudolph decides he's just going to go it alone, and he does make a good go of it, even growing up a bit. So by the time he gets back, the reindeer are still making fun of him, but he's like, talk to the hoof. Oh, and in case you're wondering, there's no indication of the plot points from Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July, because I think that was sort of retconned in, but let's not go there. Anywho, ultimately, Rudolph comes home to find his family and Clarice and pretty much everybody out looking for him, having been captured by the Abominable. So, hooking back up with Yukon and Hermie, Rudolph tries to fight the beast, and despite wounding its pride, it ultimately gets the upper claw. And instead of eating them all right away, it sort of waits. That's called character shields. When a bad guy's got you dead to rights and doesn't capitalize on it. Ultimately, using pig calls as bait, Yukon drops a boulder on the Abominable's head, knocking it cold. And then, looking back, I can't believe I didn't realize how messed up this was. Hermie rips out all the Abominable's teeth. Like every single one of them. And even though it's not as bloody as it should be because it's a kids program, it's still pretty messed up to see that. I mean, to be knocked out and then wake up and be toothless, that was messed up. They actually used tooth extraction in olden days as a torture method. So after the Abominable realizes what happens and is somehow not in incredible pain from the loss of its teeth, it sort of goes through a psychological break, becoming extremely cowardly, even though it's got size, strength, and claws. And ultimately, Yukon tackles it over the side of an ice cliff and disappears. And file that little nugget away. So everybody heads back to Santa's workshop, and ultimately, Christmas is basically saved because Donner was out there, and he's on the main team, so he's got to be out there. Unfortunately, Christmas is not quite yet saved because there's also a massive blizzard that buries most of the North Pole and most of the world. But then, in a moment of sheer necessity, Santa realizes that Rudolph's nose is perfect for cutting through that thick fog. So he recruits him, and even though Rudolph, by all rights, should say, "Go stuff a stocking," because of what you guys did to me, he decides to let bygones be bygones, and he joins the team. But then Yukon shows up with the abominable, now renamed Bumble, in tow, having claimed to have reformed him. Although, like I said before, I think losing all its teeth caused the abominable to go through some sort of psychological break, which turned him cowardly and childlike. So when Yukon tackled him off the side of the ice cliff, and the Bumble, as it turns out, was able to bounce. He can bounce, but he can't float. That's weird. I guess he sort of imprinted on Yukon, because it was earlier stated that the Bumble doesn't like Christmas, but then later Yukon has him place a star on top of the tree, and I guess he changed his mind with the help of that mental break. So ultimately, the day is saved, and Rudolph's name goes down in history as the 9th reindeer on Santa's team. And the film ends happily. But let's talk about this. His own parents thought he was defective. Santa thought he was defective. And his first real friend, Fireball, there's never any resolution to that. As far as he's concerned, Rudolph is still something to be feared and hated. And then, of course, there's Clarice's dad, who called Rudolph a red-nosed reindeer. He may as well use the word communist. And yet, Rudolph decided to be the bigger person. I don't know if many of us could do that. Not after the ridicule. But then again, this is just a simple Christmas movie, and when you overthink simple stuff, it takes the magic away. So let's all tune in and watch Rudolph overcome his problems and be the bigger person. Happy holidays, and if we were all as optimistic as Rudolph, maybe things would be better. Cheers. Mr. J signing out and wishing everyone a good rest of the year and a good new year.